I don't know why, but I expected GoPro to sort of play it safe with the Hero 9 and make a big splash for the Hero 10. Turns out that the company does not care what I think and gave the 9th flagship camera a pretty beefy update with a new design, front screen and a slew of under the hood tweaks, making it a tough act to follow. To look at, this year's camera is nearly identical to the Hero 9. In fact, the only visible difference is the colour of the branding and the new number on the side. And this is a good thing, as it'll mean all of the accessories for the Hero 9 will be compatible with the 10 and it uses the same batteries. With few cosmetic changes, you've rightly guessed that all the newness is going on inside. The Hero 10 comes loaded with a new processor called the GP2. GoPro started using its own silicon with the Hero 6 with the promise of higher frame rates and other advanced features. That's what powers things like Hypersmooth and Time Warp. Now, the promise of GP2 is all about speed and power, doing more and doing it quicker. For you, the GoPro user, that means a slight upgrade in maximum resolution from a curious 5K to the curiouser 5.3K. More useful, however, are the new slow-mo or frame rate modes. 4K can now be shot at a generous 4 times slow-mo, or 120 frames per second if you prefer, and 2.7K goes all the way up to 240 frames per second for an 8 times speed reduction, both twice what was available on last year's camera. This is no small thing. GoPro has been offering 4K since the Hero 3, barely, or the Hero 4 properly, but it was only with the Hero 6 that you were able to shoot above the standard 30 frames per second. And even then, at 60 frames per second, it's not much use for those looking for deep slow motion. The Hero 10 then finally brings solid slow-mo to ultra high definition. You can even grab 5K at 60 frames per second if that's your thing. Word to the wise though, we might have a new processor here, but shooting twice as many frames comes at a cost. During my testing, the battery life absolutely took a hit while recording at any of the higher frame rates. And in fact, overall, it feels like the battery life is a little shorter this time around, at least in my testing. When I set the Hero 10 down to record at 4K and 30 frames per second, it managed about an hour and 15 minutes of continuous footage. The Hero 9 with the same battery in it lasted about another half an hour with the same settings. Throw in double the work and you'll want to keep a few spare cells around. Along with the new resolutions comes an updated Hypersmooth. Now in its 4th iteration, GoPro's software stabilization remains the one to beat. The original version that debuted in the Hero 7 was good, and then it got a lot better in the next 2 cameras. The 4th version doesn't overdo things, but feels better in the right ways. Nothing is too floaty or unnatural. The main visual difference is in the horizon leveling. Before, you could tilt the camera and your footage would remain level until around 27 degrees. With the Hero 10, you can push that to around 45 degrees before the camera will give in and your footage will start to break away from dead flat. That is, again, about double the performance. Be careful here, as sometimes this can feel unnatural. If you really want to feel every twist and turn in a first-person view video, for example. But being able to plonk the camera down on a mount and not worry about it being level, and the whole video holding the horizon will never not feel like a gift. Now, the stabilization and extra slow motion is great, but there's a silent upgrade going on here that is way more important. The Hero 10's image quality is a noticeable leap ahead of the Hero 9, like across the board. The first thing I noticed was that colors were more natural, but on closer inspection there's also a lot more detail and improved exposure generally. The Hero 10 footage consistently looks better in a way that really matters. Other years I've found myself combing for small details to spot the difference. Here, it's right there when you open 2 videos side by side. Much as I love improved software perks like stabilization or slow motion, nothing matters more than image quality at the end of the day. So it's no small thing to say that the Hero 10 delivers a worthy cinematic upgrade to your footage. And it's not just videos. If photos are more your thing, then there's more good news. The Hero 10 now shoots 23 megapixel stills, up from 20 megapixels last time around. And again, that bump in resolution is instantly obvious. Unsurprisingly, all the benefits I found with video, such as color, exposure and detail, are all present and correct for photos too. I still wouldn't recommend a GoPro for your go-to stills camera. Its action leanings make it less apt for portraits and close-ups. but for action shots, it's up in the bar and that's what matters. Once you get back to base to offload your footage, this is another chance to benefit from that new GP2 processor. Wi-Fi uploads are noticeably faster, which is great if you already use GoPro subscription service, formerly marketed as GoPro Plus. If you don't, or like me, you prefer to transfer to the desktop, be excited as there's now, drumroll please, the ability to plug your GoPro in and transfer videos directly from it as removable storage. Yes, after far too long, a GoPro finally shows up as a disc when you plug it into your PC. No more having to take out the memory card and find an adapter. Things work as the computer gods intended. I'm not sure why it took the company so long to get around to this, but hey, it's here and you should enjoy it while you can. I won't lie, at first glance, a new processor didn't feel like the sexiest upgrade compared to last year's front screen resolution bump and beyond. A CPU doesn't quite get the pulse racing like a new hardware feature or some fancy software shooting mode. But what it does do is it makes everything else that the camera can already do a bit better, and that's hard to ignore the more you use this thing. Sharper photos and more striking videos, whatever resolution or frame rate you use, are the sort of upgrades that matter. Add to that the extended slow-mo options and a bunch of usability tweaks across the board, and the initially unassuming Hero 10 Black suddenly feels like a very different camera. But you will have to cough up an extra $50 compared to last year's launch price. The Hero 10 Black costs $399 when you bundle it in with a GoPro subscription at purchase, or $499 if you don't. And that makes it a pricey upgrade if you're not able to grab a subscription this time around. If you can though, and are jumping into the world of GoPro for the first time, or upgrading from a much older model, there's little to complain about here, bar that battery life. As always, hit subscribe for more and see all the latest news on Engadget.com.